Peppa Loves Australia. Once upon a time, Peppa went to the airport. She was going to visit her friend Kylie Kangaroo, who lived in Australia. "Is it far to Kylie's house?" asked Peppa. "Yes," Daddy Pig nodded. "It's on the other side of the world, so it takes a long time to get there, even on an aeroplane." "Airplane!" cheered George. George loved aeroplanes. "Time to go," called Mummy Pig. The plane ride was exciting. Peppa and George looked out of the window. They played with stickers, then had some dinner and watched a film. "What is Australia like, Mummy?" asked Peppa. "It's an amazing country," said Mummy Pig. "It feels a bit like home, but it is really quite different." "I can't wait to play with Kylie," said Peppa. "I've never been to her house before." "Daddy Pig," said Mummy Pig, "did you remember to phone Mr. and Mrs. Kangaroo and tell them that we were coming?" "Oh," Daddy Pig frowned, "I may have forgotten." After they had talked for a very long time, Peppa and George fell asleep. "Wake up now," said Daddy Pig. "We're here." "Australia is very hot," said Peppa. "Yes," puffed Daddy Pig. "When it's winter at home, it's summertime here." "Let's put on our sun hats," said Mummy Pig. Peppa was very pleased to see her friend Kylie Kangaroo. "Hello, Kylie." "Hello, Peppa." Kylie's little brother Joey waved to George. "Well, this is a surprise," said Mr. Kangaroo. When everybody had unpacked, Mr. Kangaroo turned on his computer. "Would you like to tell your folks that you've arrived safely?" he asked. "Yes, please," said Daddy Pig. Mr. Kangaroo pressed a button. Granny and Grandpa Pig appeared. "Granny!" Peppa gasped. "Why are you wearing your pajamas?" "It's nighttime here," said Granny Pig. "Australia is different to home," Grandpa Pig yawned. "Oh, yes," said Daddy Pig. "I forgot about that." It was time to do some exploring. Mr. Kangaroo fetched his camper van. "Climb in," he said. "There's room for everyone." "Where are we going?" asked Mummy Pig. Mrs. Kangaroo grinned. "To the beach." "Yippee!" shouted Peppa. "I love the beach." The beach was big and sandy. Kylie jumped into the water. "Whee!" "Are there fish in there?" asked Peppa. "Yes," said Mrs. Kangaroo. "Our oceans are full of incredible creatures." Mummy Pig jumped in. "I've spotted an incredible creature." "Hee hee," Peppa giggled. "That's only Daddy having a swim." Later on, back at Kylie's house, Peppa and George got ready for bed. They slept on an airbed in Kylie and Joey's room. "I'm glad we came to Australia," said Peppa. "There's so much to do." "I expect you'll have to go home soon," said Mr. Kangaroo. "There's no rush," said Mummy Pig. We don't fly home for weeks." "Oh," said Mrs. Kangaroo. "I could stay here forever," Daddy Pig agreed. The next day, Mr. Kangaroo had a special treat for everyone. "Would you like to visit the bush?" he asked. "My grandpa has a bush in his garden," said Peppa. "It grows blackberries." Kylie giggled. "Not a bush, the bush," she said. "The bush is what we call the countryside in Australia," explained Mrs. Kangaroo. The bush went on for miles. The ground was dusty and red. "Look!" cried Peppa. "A tree!" "And there's something in it," said Mummy Pig. Mr. and Mrs. Kangaroo got a bit closer. "That's a koala," whispered Mrs. Kangaroo. "Koalas only live in Australia." Peppa and George waved. "Hello, Mr. Koala." It was lots of fun staying with Kylie and her family. Some days Peppa and Kylie went out, and some days they stayed at home and played in the garden. "Shall we play catch with my boomerang?" asked Kylie. "Yes, please," cheered Peppa. "What's a boomerang?" The boomerang was a brown, bendy-shaped thing. Kylie threw it into the air. The boomerang went away, and then it came back. "Wow!" Peppa gasped. "It's like magic." Peppa had a nice long holiday with Kylie. "This is your last day in Australia," said Mr. Kangaroo. "What would you like to do?" Peppa thought about all the things she had enjoyed doing, like throwing the boomerang, visiting the bush, and meeting Mr. Koala. "I know," she cried at last. "Can we go for a picnic?" Mrs. Kangaroo nodded. "What a lovely idea." Mr. Kangaroo drove the camper van all the way back to the beach. "I hope you're hungry," he called. "Do you like barbecues?" asked Mrs. Kangaroo. "Oh, yes," Daddy Pig nodded. "Let me give you a hand." Peppa and Kylie put on their swimming costumes and sunscreen. "You go and play," said Mummy Pig. "We'll call you when the food is ready." It didn't take long for the daddies to cook up the food on the barbecue. "Dinner's ready," called Mummy Pig. "Tuck in, everyone," said Mrs. Kangaroo. "So how's that for a picnic?" asked Mr. Kangaroo. Daddy Pig patted his tummy. "What a great arvo," he replied, trying to sound like a real Australian. "A barbie in our bathers. Ho, ho, ho." Peppa and Kylie burst into giggles. "This was the best picnic ever," said Peppa. Peppa loves Australia. Everyone loves Australia. We hope you enjoyed the story. Subscribe and we'll see you next time for one more book.